Hello and welcome to the morning sports briefing here on New Zealand Sports Radio on Thursday, the 25th of June. English getting itchy for club cricket. Barrett out for the season. How will Warriors react? Wheelchair tennis is back and Gemma McCaw announces international retirement. That's right. Those are the headlines today. Your best way to start the day, up to date with all the important sports news and getting into the football news. And overnight, or last time we told you about Leicester City, Brighton fighting out a 0-0 draw. Well, Tottenham Hotspur beat West Ham 2-0, leaving Tottenham in danger. Leaving West Ham in danger down towards the bottom of the table. Man United have beaten Sheffield United 3-0 overnight, and Norwich have lost at home to Everton 0-1. Two games still ongoing in overtime. Newcastle United and Aston Villa are 1-1 at the moment, and Wolves are beating Bournemouth 1-0. But both those in overtime. We should hopefully have results for you before the end of the show. I'm going to hand you over to Arsene, who's going to take us through our cricket update.
Good morning, Paul, and good morning to the viewers and listeners there out on the interweb. And as Paul has mentioned, the English are getting itchy for club cricket. Leading epidemiologists have said, that's hard to get out this time of the morning, leading epidemiologists have said that it is safe for the grassroots cricket to return, claiming that the risk would be so minimal as to not be a significant concern. Now, as reported yesterday, Boris Johnson said the problem with cricket is, everybody understands, the ball is the natural vector of the disease. Now, Richard Bradbury, an epidemiologist from the Federation University in Melbourne, had said there is a risk, but sufficient precautions are taken. If sufficient precautions are taken, that risk can be mitigated. And one of those precautions is obviously sanitizing the ball. Now moving on to Bangladesh, have decided to postpone their tour of Sri Lanka. Bangladesh were scheduled to play 3 tests in Sri Lanka in July. But with COVID-19 concerns, the BCB has informed Sri Lanka cricket that environment is still not conducive for players to take part in international cricket. Earlier this week, Moshrafi Mortaza had tested positive for COVID-19, as Bangladesh follows the world trend in seeing big spike in people affected. Maybe they should stop testing and then the numbers will get magically lower. But yeah, I say that in jest just in case anybody thought I was serious. Back to England, former England captain Claire Connor will become the first female president of the Marylebone Cricket Club, the MCC, in its 233-year history. The 43-year-old, currently the England and Wales Cricket Board Managing Director of Women's Cricket, will take up the new role on the 1st of October 2021. She will replace former Sri Lankan captain Kumar Sangakkara, who has been invited to take on a second term, which will obviously roll through until that 2021 date. And join us right here on New Zealand Sport Radio for your cricketing fix of Swinging from the Hip, where we will be joined by Aaron Ranchot and Stephen Nobilo, former and current chairman of clubs in Auckland cricket, to discuss the inner workings of club cricket. That's 8 p.m. New Zealand time on New Zealand Sport Radio for Swinging from the Hip. And Paul, that's our cricketing news for today.
Thank you very much, Arsene. Let's hope that former club member doesn't have a few things some grievances to get off his chest.
You know him too well already.
We're handing over now to Stephen, who's going to take us through our birthdays.
Thank you, Paul, and good morning to everybody tuning into New Zealand Sport Radio. In birthdays today, a tough loose forward who represented the Crusaders, a former Samoan and a Kiwi international, and finally a 1978 and 82 Commonwealth Games diver. And Sissons Nifaga, born this day, the 25th of June 1958, is a New Zealand diver and diving official. Sissons was chosen to dive for New Zealand at the 1978 Commonwealth Games at Edmonton and the 1982 Commonwealth Games in Brisbane. Sissons was the second woman Olympic diver for New Zealand when she dived in the 3-metre springboard event at the Los Angeles Games in 1984. Citizens, who turned 62 today, moved on to coach and become an official. In 2016, she was given a scholarship to travel to Puerto Rico to refresh her judging skills. Citizens is a member of the Wellington Diving Club. Moving right along, Tony Anthony Pulitua, born this day, the 25th of June, 1979, also known by the nickname of TP, is a New Zealand-born Samoan professional rugby league footballer who last played for the Hull Kingston Rovers in the Super League, a New Zealand and Samoan international. Pulitua previously played for Penrith Panthers in the National Rugby League competition, primarily known as a second row forward. And finally, Hayden Kahia Bedwell Curtis, born the 25th of June 1991 this day, is a New Zealand rugby union player. He plays in the flank position for Mitsubishi Sagamihara Dynaboars in the Japanese top league. Bedwell Curtis, who turns 29 today, was called into the Crusaders Super Rugby squad during the 2017 season and made 7 appearances. After being released at the end of the 2017 season, he was recalled the next year following injury concerns within the team. Bedwell Curtis added further to his tally of matches, which included starting in the 2018 Super Rugby final win over the Lions. And that's it for birthdays to you. We'll go back to you, Paul.
Thank you very much, Stephen, for the birthday update. Moving on now to rugby news, and we have Barrett is out for the rest of the season. Yes, it's Scott Barrett who is out due to a foot injury, unfortunately, and looks like that happened during the inter-squad game on June the 13th. Apparently, during during scrummaging, he sustained what's called a sustained significant injury to the structures supporting his big toe. Now, you might say that it's just your toe, but yes, this is an area that you use a lot for pushing in scrums in particular, and that's what they think has gone wrong here. So he is going to be, unfortunately, missing for the rest of the season. He joins Luke Jacobson and Tom Robertson, who have both been added to the sidelines this week. So three forwards, all unfortunately out for the rest of the season. And I'm going to hand you back now to Stephen, who is going to take us through our NRL update.
Good morning again, Paul. Our lead news this morning, well, we start with the Warriors. And NRL Great says the sacking of coach Stephen Kearney has the potential to tear the Warriors squad apart. The just retired West Tigers icon Robbie Farah, a close friend of interim head coach Todd Payten, said an experienced replacement coach would find the existing situation difficult enough. But he all but suggested Payten, a former Tigers teammate, might have considered turning it down for the sake of his career and reputation. Another former Kangaroo, Brett Kamali, weighed in saying it was not the right time for Payten to get the head coaching role, particularly as the Warriors players would be down. Payten takes command of an NRL first grade side for the first time this week as they prepare for Friday night's match against the ruthless Melbourne Storm in Sydney. Farah, a former Australian and State of Origin hooker, was quoted as saying, "It's huge for me, a rookie coach, to come in under the circumstances and take control of the side, living away from home with all the challenges they're facing, a coach they really loved, having just got sacked. It's got the potential to really break the playing group. It's going to be a huge challenge for Toddy. I wish him all the best, and it's a great opportunity for him. Whether he wants the job long term, it's going to take some time to get them back on track under the current circumstances. It'll be really, really interesting to see how they actually respond. Yes, they could be down, but listen, I'm expecting the Warriors to bounce back this weekend. And speaking of somebody who might be looking at the Warriors from a distance, beg your pardon, is the NRL super coach, Wayne Bennett. He's poured cold water on the speculation he is interested in the head coaching job at the Warriors and the Bulldogs and the Cowboys as well. The South Sydney Rabbitohs coach told the Daily Telegraph it would be a straight no if he was called to show interest in the Warriors role. He left vacant by Stephen Kearney, who was fired on Saturday night. Someone may have contacted the Warriors about me. Who knows? But I can tell you right now that I have not spoken to anyone from New Zealand, and I have no plans to. The Steve Kearney decision came totally out of the blue. No one in the game saw it coming. Even Steve didn't see it until they called him about it. Even if the Warriors approached me, it would be a straight no anyway. It was Wayne Bennett's Rabbitohs that effectively brought to an end Kearney's time at the Warriors following a 40-12 thrashing last Friday night. Bennett, who was an assistant coach to Kearney when the Kiwis won the 2008 World Cup, signed a 3-year deal with the Rabbitohs in 2018. He's been linked not just the Warriors job, but also replacing Dean Pay at the Bulldogs and Paul Green at the Cowboys. So it'll be very interesting to see how this plays out. Is Bennett being a little coy, or the fact that maybe he's got that relationship with Steve Kearney from the past? That's it in league news today. I'll be back with more tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you very much, Stephen, for that NRL update. And you can hear who the boys on the standoff want to have replace or be the next Warriors head coach. Their show was live last night. You can either watch the recording on our Facebook page or just search for New Zealand Sports Radio on your favourite podcatcher, where that show is available: iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, all those wonderful places. Moving on now to other sports, and Team New Zealand have wrapped up another testing block on their smaller boat. Yes, and still the question is now: would they do some more work on that one, or will they get their big boat out there? Now it's back from from Europe, but because the grinders in particular have not had much time on the water. The current boat only takes 3 people to sail with motors doing all the work of the grinders. So been some great testing, I said, but there's still a lot more for them to figure out there. The English and Italian syndicates are both on the water, but the American syndicate is moving over to Australia at the moment with its boats in transit, and so they're the only ones that aren't currently on the water testing. Moving on to hockey, and Gemma McCaw has announced her retirement from international hockey with immediate effect. She was hoping to make her 4th appearance at the Olympics, but with a postponement has decided not to. McCaw made 254 appearances for the Black Sticks, scoring 72 goals. And also, she didn't give any interviews, so we're not sure as to why she decided to call time on her career and not push on through to next year. Over in New York and Europe, and the New York City and Berlin marathons have now been cancelled. The New York Marathon was due to take place on the 1st of November, and the Berlin one on the 27th of September. And it would have been the 50th running of the New York City Marathon. The London Marathon, though, is still have not given up hope of holding their event on the 4th of October. So with these other events getting cancelled, they could have a bumper field for that event. Moving over to the States, and the FBI have investigated the noose that was found in Bubba Wallace's garage. They've concluded that actually that it has been in there for a long time, and that it is actually a garage door pull, and it is actually not a noose that has been placed there because of this. Yes, it's apparently been there since last October, and so this is a false alarm on that one, thankfully. Moving on to the US Open, And wheelchair tennis will take part after the US Open backtracks on its original decision not to include wheelchair tennis. A public outcry from the wheelchair tennis players caused this about turn, and they voted to decide that yes, they will take part with a 95% of the prize fund from last year. There were two other options that included $150,000 as compensation for not having the event happening, or having an event down in Orlando instead. But no, they decided to go ahead and be part of the US Open proper. Talking about tennis, and Nikola Jokovic return to the NBA is going to be delayed because he turned up to Djokovic's tennis tournament. Or well, maybe that was where he caught coronavirus, because he's apparently been asymptomatic since testing. But obviously, we've had 5 tennis players who have tested positive since that tournament where Jokic attended. So more people going down with coronavirus from that event. Finally, the Major League Baseball is looking to return in July with a shortened 60-game season. The regular season is normally 162 games, but the actual schedule has not been announced yet. But the Players Association said that all remaining issues have been resolved, and that is good to hear. Let's quickly check back in on those Premier League scores before we sign off and see if they have been concluded. It's just refreshing right now. And it has. Newcastle United, Aston Villa did finish 1-1, and Wolverhampton Wanderers beat Bournemouth 1-0. You have now started the day the best way, up to date with all the important sports news. Have a fantastic day, everybody. And don't forget, you can listen to this on the go. Just search for New Zealand Sports Radio on your favourite podcatcher, be that iHeartRadio, iTunes, or Spotify.